Welcome to the Comic Sauce Podcast, where we talk comics and comics culture. I am Henry Liu, and today I am joined by Rainier. Rainier, how's it going?
I'm good. I had just finished my taxes
Oh, nice.
just in time.
Excellent.
And I'm fully vaccinated.
Woo.
Oh man, I did not react well to that second one, by the way.
Yeah, you got a little feverish, I heard.
Yeah, yep. That last night, our last cast, I woke up the next morning and I was hit by a bus.
Dang. Well, at least you know the vaccine's working, right?
Yep, I made it through. Made
There
it
you
through the
go.
light.
Right on. We are also joined by Christian Diadamo. Christian, how you doing?
How's it going? I'm doing well. I'm also fully vaccinated now, and
Yeah.
yeah, I got my second shot a few days ago, and oh yeah, that was a rough day and a half there. Oh man.
We're all team Pfizer, I think, right?
Yeah, Pfizer.
All
Yeah.
right.
Pfizer, same here.
All right.
Excellent. Yeah, 3 for 3. I am fully vaccinated myself, so we're serumed up, ready to do this. Yeah. Okay. The Comic Sauce Podcast is on social media now. Catch us at Comic Sauce Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Today is May 13th, 2021, and we're going to talk some Falcon and Winter Soldier, the second Marvel Studios series on Disney Plus is in the books, and we're going to get into it. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So yeah, you know, when this came out, there was a lot of buzz. A lot of people were watching this show. We all completed the season. So let's just dive right into it. I thought we might start with our experience watching the show. Have you watched it multiple times? Did you watch it right at midnight release? Did you wait a bit? What were your experiences watching this show? Let's start with you, Christian. What was your experience?
So I watched the show week by week as it aired, and I didn't rewatch it at all after. I just watched like clips here and there to kind of re-engage myself with certain scenes. And overall, like, I did enjoy it quite a bit. I thought week by week, the cliffhangers at the end of each episode were really enticing. There was always a lot of like very iconic shots, a lot of viral videos around it, and it was quite a joy to watch as it was airing. I think over time, I think as I let it let everything stew, the high did kind of wear off for the show, but overall, I did like it and I would recommend it.
Cool. How about you, Rainier?
I watched it week to week. I was delayed a few weeks at a time, so I got to watch like 2 or 3 episodes back to back. The final episode, I don't know why I couldn't get to it right away, but I did sit on it for about a week. The one thing I noticed about this is not like all of the previous streaming shows. I didn't see a lot of people spoiling the show. I don't know if that's the same for you guys, but I certainly appreciate that. Did I like it? I mean, hell, it's the MCU doing MCU things. Of course, I liked it. It was great. It was fun. It was everything Falcon and Winter Soldiery that I would have expected. um, yeah, I think they took some. I think they took some cool uh, I think they tried to tackle some new territory with like the subject matter of the show. We're not going into spoilers yet, are we?
Maybe not quite yet.
Okay. But yeah, overall, I liked it. It's great.
Nice. Yeah, that is interesting. I think myself and Christian pretty much saw it right as they released. But you had some moments where you waited a bit, right, Rainier? But you weren't spoiled at all.
Surprisingly, no. Like, I feel like there were more spoilers going around like WandaVision, maybe because that was the first of the MCU Disney Plus series to come out. Um, I don't know, maybe people are still trying to catch up on WandaVision. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it didn't seem like I didn't feel like I was seeing a lot of spoilers going around for Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, with WandaVision, I feel like so many people were excited about new MCU content that they kind of just threw the spoiler book out the window and just started post things like right and left without any warning. With this one, I felt like there was some stuff, so I was curious, yeah, if you got spoiled at all, but glad to hear you were not. Yeah, with me, I definitely enjoy the show as well. Um, yeah, actually, technically, I have seen the show twice through, two full viewings. What I did was I watched each episode twice as they aired. So, yeah, a lot of it was my excitement for the show, and a lot of it was uh, on a number of occasions watching it right as it released at midnight, late night Thursday. Yeah, and then watching it again like during the day on Friday. So yeah, I got my fill of this show.
I did one
And
run by the way, just myself.
oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's nice. Cool. All right. So I think now we can give the spoiler alert, full on spoilers for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And yeah, maybe we can talk a bit about what we liked and what we didn't like about the show. I think we started to get into it already, but maybe we can expand on that a bit. Yeah, what do you guys think? Highlights of the show, lowlights, anything worth mentioning in that department?
I thought it was cool seeing Falcon do more versatile things with his Falcon wings that we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I totally noted that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really cool. I mean, if Falcon doesn't have the super soldier serum like Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, he's gonna have to get creative with what he's got, right? And what he's got are the wings, right? So it was cool to see him use the wings to use like the booster pack.
He does already have a leg up on Hawkeye, by the way, like by default.
There you go. But yeah, like logically, he's gonna have to get resourceful, and this show really kind of dived into that. In the movies, you did see some of that using his wings in kind of creative ways, but you really saw that in a big way with this show. That was cool.
Yeah, like I liked just about any part with Anthony Mackie. I thought they did his backstory really well, and I thought like the acting between him and Sebastian Stan made for some really great like buddy moments, and it was cool to see their like friendship kind of grow and develop over the season. And
I think they have like really good natural chemistry too, and I think that came off really well.
They do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the reason this show was made. Like the chemistry between these two actors was so great that a small handful of scenes from the movies got people's attention. People love this duo, and it was recognized, and they made this show because of it. But that is a good point. Like the show was billed as this kind of buddy cop sort of show, odd couple type thing, and it was made to look like almost like a comedy, right? Like an action comedy, and we definitely got a lot of that. What really surprised me was that they took that, and there was a lot of fun with the action and the comedy. I would say maybe more so earlier in the season, but the surprising part was when it got really serious and they really went deep with like timely social commentary and racial themes that I did not expect, and was pretty cool to see. I thought that was surprising and pretty refreshing. And I kind of mentioned this with WandaVision, but man, it seems like these shows are taking us into uncharted territory. It isn't just rehashing the movies. You know, they're doing some pretty cool, interesting, unique stuff with these shows. And yeah, it was cool to see. Like, I was really looking forward to kind of getting into familiar territory with characters I know and like action stuff that I know. But it was a pleasant surprise to see some deep, cool, like timely writing and delving into some pretty edgy themes. It was nice.
It was cool that that Isaiah Bradley was brought into the picture. Like,
yeah.
So he originates from the story Red, White, and Black.
Yep.
I don't know. Have you guys read that series?
I have not.
No.
And I don't know. I can't remember how that story was received when it was originally released. I can't remember how long ago, like 2003, 2004-ish, I think. But man, talk about a deep cut. Like, it's cool that they brought him into the story and now he's part of the Captain America mythos. And what a cool way to honor him by having him have his statue, like, you know, in the Hall of Captain America.
Yeah.
I found that story actually very interesting. I would have liked to have seen more of that, actually.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the show. And yeah, when you see that statue and you see Isaiah's reaction, it was very touching. Absolutely cool moment.
Another part. Oh yeah. Okay. So I think another part that I think they did really, really well, as far as the world building of the MCU goes, is the post-snap world of Endgame, or after Endgame.
Oh yeah.
And the way that you see heroes and like just civilians alike have to navigate this new world where people just magically, you know, come back. Half the population of the world just comes back in 1 second, like that. I guess essentially in a snap. And so, like, when he's trying to get like a loan, or Falcon is trying to get a loan and he can't because the bank just can't really keep up and things like that. Yeah. Even though he's an Avenger. And I'm trying to think of another like really good part another good scene of like the post-snap world that they.
Yeah, that bank scene is interesting because it's kind of like seeing like your like the quarterback like post Super Bowl, and like the hype of the Super Bowl's over, you know. And it's like, hey, cool, it's that guy. Yeah. Like, you recognize him, but just like, you know, that's as far as it goes. It's like, this guy helped save like the world and he can't even get a bank loan. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I also thought it was pretty cool that they delved into the post-snap world. You know, what came to mind is, you know, there's people at comic conventions who held signs after or like around Infinity War with the signs are saying Thanos was right. You know, those guys.
Thanos did nothing wrong.
Right. It made me think like, oh, they're gonna see this and it's just gonna be fuel to their fire, right? They're gonna be like, yeah, that's right. Thanos was right all along, right? So look at the world now. It's terrible.
I may not have been paying attention to those signs because I don't think I've ever seen one of those. Yeah. Thanos is right. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Villains, sympathizers.
Exactly. Thanos sympathizers. They're the worst, man. But, you know, it makes sense. You know, if all of a sudden half the population disappeared, 5 years later they came back, the world would be like in total chaos, right? There would be a lot of problems. And I'm glad this show kind of dealt with that instead of just kind of glossed over it, right? Cool to see. So yeah, going back real quick, we touched upon some of the action stuff. I talked about the opening action sequence of the show previously, but I got to call it back because it is so great. You know, I think what they were going for was an equivalent to that opening boat scene in the Winter Soldier movie, where they're just kind of delivering jaw-dropping action and making a statement saying like, this is the new shit, right? Get ready. And yeah, I was like as excited about the opening action sequence in this show as that scene from the Winter Soldier movie. Totally delivered, super exciting. It had like the cool, like inventive use of Falcon's equipment we were talking about. Had some crazy stunts, you know. I don't know if you guys watched the making of material for this show, but
Yet.
yeah, pretty cool.
I have not.
Yeah, they delve into that scene a bit, and it's like a crazy mixture of CGI and real stunts, and just like a mashup of different like visual effects techniques. But they did literally have skydivers jumping out of a plane, so that seemed real. And sure enough, a lot of that scene was for real. And yeah, it felt super real. Like a big reason why I was so looking forward to this show is I felt like I needed the realism of these type of superheroes after, like, you know, seeing cosmic Marvel stuff and magic Marvel, like with WandaVision, etc. This is kind of my bread and butter, like the more street level type characters. And you really got that with that scene. You know, you get the stakes of people skydiving, jumping out of airplanes, and like, you know, real deal stakes. So you really got that. So phenomenal scene. Great way to start off the season for sure.
I mean, not that it's a bad thing, but I was actually kind of expecting that for the first episode, only because, like, you know, WandaVision, it was such a slow burn. They had to release the first 2 episodes to kind of get people hooked, I feel like.
Yeah. Oh, I was definitely hoping for it. I wouldn't say I was expecting it, but I was definitely hoping for it, and I definitely got what I was hoping for, which was great. Yeah, interestingly, the show like kind of evolved from that point on. Like, it wasn't this nonstop action fest, and it wasn't like a nonstop like comedy fest either. Both of which were kind of teased in the promotional material. It looked like an action comedy show. It didn't seem like it was going to be like this show about like political themes and racial themes and all this interesting social commentary, right? So it kind of drew us in with the action and the comedy, and then like hit us with a lot of deepness, you know. So yeah, it was an interesting ride. The show is definitely an interesting ride. And oh, Christian, you mentioned the cliffhangers. Yeah. Oh man, some of the cliffhangers were pretty intense. Like, there's that one episode, I think it was episode 5, where Sam opens up the suitcase from Wakanda, and then the show just ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I knew they were going to do that.
Great.
I knew they were going to do that.
Maybe I take the spoiler thing back, because I feel like that was already on a poster before that briefcase was even shown.
Oh, yeah?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that on a poster?
I don't
Maybe.
recall that. Maybe.
Might have seen it somewhere. Like, I almost feel like with like spoilers, it's almost like Disney kind of spoiled it. Like when they would drop, like, I guess, like Baron Zemo dancing. I know it's kind of a meme, but it's like it's like there's like a part where that's in the story, or like when you see the Captain America suit at the end, or that other great cliffhanger ending with the bloody shield.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of cool
the ending
stuff.
felt so iconic in a lot of these episodes.
Yeah, definitely a lot of iconic moments. I myself wasn't spoiled to any of that, except there's one thing I was spoiled to, and I'm not too happy about this. It's the Baron Zemo mask. Like, I really wish that wasn't spoiled to me. Like, they used that in the promotional materials.
They did.
I think they had a poster of a hooded Baron Zemo. Like, man, if they dropped that on me without any warning, oh man, I would have been so stoked. I was really stoked about Zemo as it was, but it could have been even better.
I don't know actually what I'm more upset about, that they spoiled that in like the teaser poster, or he only wore that mask for a brief amount of time to fire like a rocket launcher and that was it. Like I think it would have been cool if we would have seen him in that mask a little bit longer.
Yeah, it
Yeah, I
really
wish we
was.
got more of it.
Yeah, it was just that one scene, really. But the fact that we got it was pretty cool. Um, yeah, I just wished it hadn't been spoiled to me. That would have been nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've been talking some of the highlights. What about lowlights? What didn't fly so great for you guys? It
Wait,
wasn't a.
did we talk about any highlights about Winter Soldier? About Bucky?
He is in the title of the show. What about
I
Bucky?
don't feel like we talked about him
And this
much.
kind of speaks to how he kind of took a back seat on this show, right? He's billed as like the lead of the show, one of the two leads, but
I
he
like how it
is a
started.
secondary
Like
character.
I like how they started with this like, his road to redemption and trying to figure out his place post Winter Soldier. It almost seemed like it would have been more fitting if the show was called Falcon and Bucky, because he's not technically the Winter Soldier anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I feel like that storyline, I mean, Falcon definitely like took the spotlight between the two of them.
Definitely.
And I don't know, it almost felt like it was Falcon with Winter Soldier sprinkled in. That's what it felt like.
I agree.
Yeah. It's like Falcon feet Bucky as opposed to Falcon and Bucky, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
If it was like if this was a rap song.
Exactly.
I think the journey of Falcon finding himself as Captain America was a stronger story. Probably that's probably why that it felt that way too, right?
That is true, yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Although one part with Bucky I did really like was when the like Wakandan forces came in and how he interacted with them.
Yeah, that was cool.
And that fight scene where she like the woman like dislodges his arm pretty much and his arm falls off.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, the appearance of the Dora Milaje, super
Dora
cool.
Milaje, that's
Yeah.
that's who it was.
Yeah, awesome. There's a great fight scene, and you know, it wasn't out of nowhere, right? I mean, they of course want to go after Zemo, and they have a connection with Bucky, so it wasn't forced. Pretty cool to see all that. So yeah, before we go into some of the lowlights, a couple more highlights. We should talk about the bloody shield, right? That was a huge moment in the show. When John Walker
John
goes
Walker.
nuts. Yeah.
Ooh. Yeah.
I think John Walker in general is a pretty cool addition on this show. Like I knew he was going to be in the show, but I didn't really know to what extent and what kind of role he would play. But a very interesting character, super unstable, and he's really everything that Steve Rogers wasn't, right? And just because he has the look of the Steve Rogers Captain America, the way he behaves is like pretty appalling, right?
I mean, they clearly from right off the bat set him up to be a despicable version of Captain America, like
Yeah.
like the bootleg version. And what's funny is that like some people that I've talked to, that some people that I know that have watched the show that aren't super familiar with like the comics, or their only knowledge of Captain America is through the MCU, their like initial reaction is like, I can't stand this new Captain. Is this the Captain America we're gonna have?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, Cap's story's not done yet.
That's funny. Like, yeah, if you're not too familiar with the comics and all that, you might think that this is the new Captain America, right? When he was introduced at the end of episode 1.
A lot of the reaction
right?
was like, why did they pick that guy to play Captain
Yeah,
America?
like, what the fuck, man? Like we kind of knew that, like, okay, that's not the real Cap. Like,
Yeah.
he might even become the U.S. agent later, and guess what he does? But yeah, I could see how like maybe more casual fans might think that, and it's pretty funny you mentioned that, because I'd be pissed off too. I'd be like, what the hell? Who is this guy?
And that's the stark difference between someone that reads the comics and someone that just watches the movies.
There you go. Exactly. If you know, you know. But yeah, John Walker was great. His sidekick Lamar, aka Battlestar, was a cool character too. But yeah, maybe we can talk about that bloody shield a little bit. Pretty shocking. There was a pretty cool battle scene between John Walker, Falcon, Winter Soldier versus the Flag Smashers, and it kind of escalated to a point where like a lot of violence goes down, right? And the episode essentially ends with John Walker completely losing his shit and murdering one of the Flag Smashers with the iconic Captain America shield, right? And we see the shield covered in blood.
In public, no less.
In public.
Posted all over Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, shocking. I really didn't expect it. This is a Disney Plus show. We know that, it's going to be family oriented audience, right? So like, yeah, a lot of people were saying like, this is allowed on Disney Plus, so
see, I have a question about that. So we saw the process of Steve Rogers turning into Captain America. He was placed in this casket and he had this whole process that was put forth on him to become Captain America.
Yeah.
So are you telling me that John Walker took one vial? I'm assuming he drank it. Like, are you telling me that you could have gotten Captain America by simply taking one vial instead of having to take like 25 doses in that whole procedure?
Yeah, he didn't even need a second dose like Pfizer.
And he didn't get any more buff than what Steve Rogers originally became,
All right. So this is the type of important conversation we need to have on the Comic Sauce podcast, clearly.
So Steve Rogers got the Coca-Cola. He got classic Coca-Cola and John Walker got Diet Coke. Is that what happened?
Well, there is some explanation in the show. Like there was that conversation that Zemo, Bucky, and Sam had with this scientist who came up with this new serum, right? And as they explain it, it's kind of an optimized version. It's like a better version, because they were saying that you will get the enhancements of a super soldier without like the big muscles and stuff. So that's why like this girl, Carly, who's pretty tiny, having super strength, and maybe that also means, okay, you don't need this huge power grid. You don't need this casket, all this stuff that Howard Stark needed to create Captain America from Steve Rogers, right? Maybe you just take a shot and you're good to go. I mean, they didn't get into that much detail, but it did seem to imply that it was like a better version, like an easier to take version, and it doesn't have like some of the shortcomings that the original one had, right?
Or maybe they just fell short on budget. Maybe it's as simple as that.
Yeah, we didn't see John Walker take it, right? He took it off screen, right? So who's to know? Did he shoot it up? Did he drink that little vial? Or maybe he did go into a casket or something. Like, who knows?
Some other oral cavity. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Gets in your system much faster that way.
I do also question like the variable strength that the super soldier serum like allows you. Because as we were talking about earlier, like Falcon was moving just as smoothly as Cap did with no serum, being able to throw that shield flawlessly, even if he had a couple weeks of practice,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about this too. So there's a moment on the show where Sam Wilson is asked, would you take the super soldier serum? And he says no, without hesitating, right? He would not take the serum. And he's just that kind of guy, right? He doesn't want an unfair advantage. He wants to be himself. He wants to do it without, I don't know, additional help, etc. So let's start with this. we'll go around the room a little bit. Would you take the super soldier serum if you had the opportunity?
No question. Yes.
Same. I would totally take it. Come on.
Like, one thing I'm worried about is, like, will this be like, steroids or something? Like, is there going to be some weird side effect? Am I going to get, like, just, rage out, or like Hulk out almost? Am I going to turn to the Hulk where I get really angry and want to punch everything? Or am I just going to be me, but just super strong?
That's anti-vaccine talk right there.
Well, you're asking the right questions, Christian, because as we know, or as we should know, with this serum, it's not just a physical enhancement, right? In Captain America, the first Avenger, Dr. Erskine tells Steve Rogers, the good become great, the bad become worse. So when the Red Skull takes it, an evil person becomes completely evil. But a good guy like Steve Rogers becomes our greatest hero, Captain
So what
America.
happens if you're like middle of the road? Like, what if you're actually even keel? Do you become extra medium? Like
super mediocre.
True neutral.
So I guess these are the things we got to ask ourselves, right? So what would the enhancement be? Okay, so we know we're getting the strength, the dexterity, all the good physical attributes, but mentally, what happens? Like, yeah, that's a legit concern, right? Because we see what happened to John Walker. He completely loses his shit, right? We wouldn't want that. Like, that would be the reason why we wouldn't want to take it. That it would enhance our mental, shortcomings.
I mean, the thing is about the super soldier serum, there are a lot of like inconsistencies, and I think even like the oh man, what's the name of the directors of Captain America, Winter Soldier?
The Russo brothers.
The Russo brothers.
Yeah.
Like, I think even the Russo brothers admitted like there was a huge difference between the power level that like Captain America was in the first movie versus what he was doing in Winter Soldier. Because he was doing much more amazing like physical feats in like he suddenly became a parkour expert in Winter Soldier, and then fast forward to Falcon and Winter Soldier, like there's just again, I'm going back to like Falcon was able to accomplish everything physically that like Steve Rogers had done without he himself taking the super soldier serum. And I have to imagine that throwing that shield and catching it flawlessly, like that's got to require a whole hell of a lot of skill that he was able to, complete within a few weeks of like CrossFit training.
That's a good point. Let's get back to that. So Sam says he would not take the serum. He doesn't take the serum. And yet, yeah, he's able to do a lot of cool stuff with this shield, and he's able to fight the bad guys and, get shit done. So what's the explanation? There is a scene, there's a training montage scene, right? Where we see Sam improving his shield throwing skills and his acrobatics, but I kind of agree with you, Rainier. Like, I question, like, wouldn't it take like a lifetime of training to get to that level? If you don't have the serum, like, it's kind of a tall order to expect, someone to be that proficient, right?
Yeah, like I would imagine that even after like his few weeks of training, I mean, we're assuming it's a few weeks, right? That even then he would like flub and drop the shield a few times, or it wouldn't recall back to his hand, but like hit him in the shoulder or hit him in the stomach. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta think there's something of a leap of faith here, because I think what they're trying to the story they're trying to tell is, here's like an everyday kind of guy, doesn't have superpowers, but because of his will and his desire to do right, he can be a hero just like anyone, including the original Captain America.
You know what I think would have made it more palatable is if he didn't wield if Falcon didn't wield the shield the same way Captain America does. I
Mm,
think maybe that would have been more of a believable story.
Th-
yeah.
I didn't think about that. Like, what would you say would be like a different way to wield the shield?
I mean, not throwing it so often, actually using it to block more stuff and like using it like brass knuckles, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. You know, I think
Oh,
they
that would be
delved
cool.
into that a little bit at the end when Sam does indeed become the new Captain America. He has the shields or he has the wings and the shield, right? And he kind of uses them together. And I think it would have been cool to see a little more of that because that's where I think, yeah, what you're saying, Rainier, it becomes more palatable. It's hard to believe that Sam Wilson can throw down with Cap's shield as well as Steve Rogers did. But if he uses the shield with his wings, well, that's kind of more believable because we know Sam Wilson is an expert with his wings. So if he
And
can
he's
sort
in
of
training, yeah.
yeah, and he combines that with the shield, like that'd be kind of cool, right? Um, so we got a little bit of that, but yeah, maybe not quite enough. Okay, so that might be a good uh, lead into some of the stuff we didn't like as much. I know a lot of us weren't huge fans of the very end of the show, the last episode, essentially, right? So I just mentioned the reveal of the new Captain America, right? A lot of people were kind of expecting this might happen. It did. Kind of a cool moment when Sam was revealed in the new Cap costume. Um, yeah,
By the
maybe
way,
we'll,
did you guys like the new? Did you guys like the new Cap costume?
Yeah, I like it. It it's cool to see it like completely comic accurate to how it looks. And there's parts of it that do look like a little goofy, but I don't know. I thought he rocked it.
that is a good point. It is very comics accurate. To me, maybe too much so. It really does look like a comic book costume, and yeah, I felt like maybe it needed a little bit of adaptation. You know, the previous Captain America suits, for the most part, were really great because they weren't straight out of the comics, right? They went for more of a like a battle suit look than like a straight up superhero costume. I felt like maybe they needed a little bit of that here too. It
Hmm.
just looked too much like a superhero costume. It needed to look a little more like a battle suit, I think, a little
I'll say this:
more practical.
I do like the new Captain America suit compared to like Steve Rogers' Captain America suit in Avengers.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can all agree that was kind of a dud.
Hmm.
um, but you know, maybe yeah, maybe better than that one. But to me, it kind of recalled that suit. Like
It
that
does have a
suit
lot of that.
was like
It
that.
does have a lot of that like muscles built into the suit kind of look.
Hmm.
Yeah, a
It does
bit.
have that, and I think that's what you're getting at, Henry.
Yeah, yeah,
Not that Anthony Mackie's not built. That dude's ripped. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's like there was just so much emphasis on like bulking the suit out that like he didn't need that.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. You know, I agree. Again, it just looks more like a superhero costume from the comics than it does a battle suit. Something like kind of tactical and like practical. I think it could have used a little more of that sort of look. Um, was cool though, you know, it was a cool moment. Yeah, I was wondering if this was going to happen. Was Sam Wilson going to become Captain America? And he did. Cool to see. Now, yeah, that final episode. Yeah, I think there are a number of things that were that kind of came up short here. Just kind of on a straight up action level. I was kind of looking for this big action spectacle at the end. Like the show started with an amazing action scene, had some cool action throughout, but nothing really on the level of that first scene. So at the end, I thought they were gonna, come with the thunder, right, and hit us with it again, and they really did not.
So
They
the first
really did
one,
not.
did it set your expectations
Yeah.
like way too high for like, was it too anticlimactic at the end?
At the end for sure. Like, during like episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5, I was kind of okay because they were giving me some cool action scenes, and maybe more importantly, a very compelling story. Like when they were delving with the Flag Smasher story and John Walker and Lamar, and dealing with these kind of deep social commentary moments. Like I was good, like I'm fine. But then I had this expectation that, okay, well, the big action finale is coming, and they were even setting it up. Like they brought Batroc back. They were setting up this big showdown with the Flag Smashers and everything. And it was a dud, man. Like there was a fight between Sam Wilson, Captain America, versus Batroc, which I thought was going to be cool. It was pretty weak. They barely fought, and it ended with Sam just kind of leaving, just kind of flew out of the building, right? Now that's go ahead, Renner.
Did you like the fight between Walker and Falcon?
Oh, you mean earlier, right?
Yeah.
Earlier in the season. Yeah, that was cool.
Oh,
yeah.
From episode 5 when they were
Right.
fighting over the shield.
Right.
And he had his
after the bloody shield. Yeah.
And then John Walker had like his own like makeshift like shield that he made from like scrap metal.
Yeah, that didn't last like 2 seconds, right? Yeah. Yeah, real quick, that battle, it was Falcon and Bucky taking on John Walker, right? Very cool. Like that had some of the inventive use of Falcon's wings and booster pack in it, right? Pretty cool. It was like you could see where Sam was lacking in the super soldier serum department, right? He was outgunned in a way, but he used his resourcefulness, he uses wings, and he uses his jetpack, and it helped, right? He and Bucky were holding their own against John Walker. Now going to episode 6, though, yeah, we just didn't get the big climactic battle that I was looking for. Now, from what I'm hearing, it was kind of done on purpose, right? So from what I'm hearing, they're kind of billing this new Captain America not so much as a warrior, a World War II veteran fighting for justice. He's more of a first responder type hero. That's the new hero of America, right? Our first responders. And first responders aren't warriors. They help people, right? And we got a taste of that at the end when Falcon, or I guess Captain America now, saves those people in the helicopter, right? Kind of cool, but and I get that. Like, okay, it's cool, like this new definition of a hero. It's a first responder, not necessarily a great warrior. But they could have amped up that scene. Like that scene was just kind of okay. Maybe up the stakes a little bit. Could have been cooler, I thought. Just overall, like, yeah, that last episode was just a little lackluster. I could have used some more.
Yeah, I think the thing that I struggled with was like defining who's the definitive villain in this story. And it seemed like there was just a little bit of villainy here and there, like a little bit with Zemo, and then a little bit with, is it Carly? Carla?
Carly.
Carly.
And then a little bit with the Flag Smashers, then a little bit with John Walker.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem like there was that big final boss to overcome. And I think that's why it fell short at the end, because it's like, okay, who are we really fighting here? Like who's the big takedown to bring down?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Yeah. I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I thought it was really cool, like mid-season, when as the audience, you really didn't know who the villain was. I kind of liked that feeling. Am I supposed to hate Carly and the Flag Smashers? Am I supposed to like the new Captain America? It's not totally clear, right?
I think WandaVision did that really well because we were trying to figure out like where WandaVision was, like what's really happening. And that played well because we were trying to figure out who's the bad guy here. And then when that
Yeah.
reveal happened, it was like, oh, here we go. Okay, the eyes are wide open. We know exactly who we need to take down. Whereas here, it's like a little bit of Sharon Carter, a little bit of, um, you know, Zemo, and it's just like a little bit of Batroc, and it's like,
Yeah.
who's the final boss? Who are we going to take down?
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Like I was saying, like around mid-season, I thought it was cool. I thought it was cool that you kind of purposely didn't know who the villain was. But in this kind of show, you kind of need like a big bad at the end, right? And I think the showrunners knew that, so they kind of leaned into Carly and the Flag Smashers as being the big bad of it all, right? And maybe that's where the problem was. I think John Walker is the primary villain of the show might have worked better. Like I felt
Yeah,
like
I can see that.
he was more despicable of a person, right? And in the end, it felt kind of weird that Carly just went overboard to start killing people, right? She seemed like not like totally off the rails like that, and it did seem weird that Bucky and John Walker were kind of buddy buddy at the very end. So I don't know. I felt like there's maybe some missing character development there between episodes 5 and 6, perhaps.
I wonder if it's
Yeah,
because the show was so short. Because wasn't it supposed to have like a longer run?
yeah. From my understanding, they did shoot a lot more, and yeah, there was a lot of editing done. So yeah, who's to know?
So we need more than just the Zemo cut to be released. Like we need the extended cut release. We need to get that hashtag going.
Yeah, with Zemo, that's kind of
5.5.
there you go. Episode 5.5 would be cool. I think there's definitely something missing in between 5 and 6. But yeah, with Zemo, I think it's kind of cool. Like it seemed like he was going to be the villain of the show. He was on the posters and everything. And he wasn't. Instead, he was this kind of interesting side character that it was hard to get a read on him, right? He was helping our heroes out, and some of his dialogue was kind of outrageous, and some of it made a lot of sense. Where he's talking about super soldiers being supremacists, right? It is very thought provoking kind of tidbits, right? I really dug Zemo in this show. I thought it was cool. It's cool to see him in the mask. It was cool to see him finally like do some fighting. But maybe even better than that was just like his perspective on things were pretty fascinating. Like some of the stuff he said, like I was very much in agreement with, and I'm like, man, I'm really agreeing with this guy. But yeah,
I would have liked to have
character.
seen, I think with Zemo, I think I would have liked to have seen more of the extent of his wealth. Because remember how they're like, whoa, you're rich? Like, how did that happen?
Right.
And like, he's got more connections. Like, I think that would have been an interesting side to see, because that was just kind of like a quick surprise tease. And then he's suddenly like a conniving lackey,
Mhm. But he's got his butler doing his dirty work when
And
he's
if
in
he has
jail.
that many resources at his disposal, then he's not in jail because he has to be. He could be out of there if he really wanted to.
It kind of feels like that, right? When he's kind of chilling in his cell on the raft at the end, listening to the radio, getting the news, you kind of feel like he's pretty calm and chilled out, right? Like I don't need to be here if I don't want to, sort of thing, right?
You think
Yeah.
we'll see Zemo resurface somewhere in the MCU?
I sure hope so.
I get a feeling we
Some
haven't
point.
seen the last of him. Yeah. I'd love to see more of him. Yeah.
Mhm.
He's great.
Did you
Yeah.
guys like the turn with Sharon Carter?
No, I did not. I
Like, it was
um,
cool that she was like this badass character, but it's almost as if she was like a little too badass. Like,
yeah,
And maybe
she
you can
seems too
expand on that,
different.
Christian. Yeah, tell us
Like
about
it
that.
because in like Winter Soldier and like Civil War, she's like very much a good guy and like very much helping out our main heroes. and you see her now, and she's like a little bitter about what happened with after the snap and like the Sokovia Accords, how she had to go underground. But a lot of her character development and how she becomes a shadow broker is like off screen and like done as a twist. And so it's like kind of hard to believe in a way. I guess one is that like you kind of wonder like did Nick Fury do anything to like bust her out? Like Sharon Carter's like a top agent of Shield, isn't she? Like she's like she and now she's like kind of just completely selling out the US government at the end. And I don't know, it didn't feel believable. It felt like too much of a twist. It felt like too much of a leap. And I don't remember if there were like many breadcrumbs. I know Porfirio did call it pretty early.
He did call it. That was his
did he
pick. He actually
Mhm.
predicted she was the power broker pretty early on. He nailed that prediction. But yeah, I totally agree with you, Christian. It feels like it was a bit of a stretch. I think the defense to the argument is we really didn't get to see her character develop a whole lot in Winter Soldier or Civil War. So, you know, who are we to say like she didn't have like the darker side to it to her? But I agree, like it didn't seem in her nature to be that conniving and you know that dark of a character, right? Here's another thing I wanted to add. So she was put in a situation where she had to flee the US, right? She had to hide out in Madripoor, right? Because apparently she helped like steal Captain America's shield and Falcon's wings, and she was helping these fugitives of the Sokovia Accords, right? So, okay, that's how they explained it. But wouldn't you think that Steve Rogers would have, I don't know, helped her out? Like,
Throw her a
you know what I
bone.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. After they kissed in Civil War, like
Yeah, like she was basically his girlfriend and she just left her hanging, right? He wouldn't even like let her step foot into the United States. I mean, that seemed a little odd. I
Maybe
mean,
she's maybe she's a Skrull.
that is the big rumor I'm hearing around now, that she's just a scroll
oh,
now.
is that
Get out
it?
of jail free
Oh
card right there.
boy.
Mm-hmm.
That would be even more bullshit than what we're talking
That would
about.
be lazy writing. That's what that would be.
Yeah, that'd be stupid.
Be a bit of a
Um,
cop out, but
was there a moment where Steve Rogers decided, like, I'm in love with Peggy, and it's just too weird that I kissed her niece, so I just need to get rid of this bitch, like send her off to Madripoor and not let her into the United States? Like, is that what happened? Because like I said, it seems weird that Steve Rogers would allow Sharon Carter to like be ostracized like that, right? That just seems weird to me.
Was
So,
Sharon Carter snapped? I don't think that was ever explained.
ooh,
Was she?
they didn't say it. But you have to think like in order to be the power broker, I imagine that would take like years,
yeah, good
several
point.
years of work, like of like getting to that and like being part of this like shadow organization.
Well, I mean, if Falcon can throw Captain America's shield within 3 weeks, I mean, anything's possible.
Yeah,
Anything's possible. But the
I guess
implication
so.
is, yeah, she was around. And if she was around and Steve Rogers was around, I mean, shoot, make a phone call, Steve. Like, help her out, dude. Yeah, he left her hanging. Not cool.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I agree. It seems a bit of a stretch that she has become this villainous character. It seems a little bit odd. Yeah, you know, they're going for the shock of it, like, oh, here's this, you know, this pretty blonde girl who, you know, was Captain America's girlfriend, and she was like a total good guy. Whoa, wait a minute, hold on, she's bad, everyone. So yeah, it was kind of a stretch, I think. Okay, so what else? You know, I mentioned geek out moments. There were definitely some fan service type stuff going on in this show, as expected. We mentioned Zemo. Oh, I brought up Madripoor. So that got a lot of buzz, right? Because um, Madripoor is from the comics, and its origins are from X-Men comics. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, here we go! Like this is our first step into mutant country, right?" So yeah, just general thoughts. There was basically a whole episode about Madripoor. What are you guys' feelings about that location?
I really enjoyed that part. I think that was probably like my favorite like location from the show that they went to. Like seedy criminal underbellies are really cool,
Yeah,
and how they have like the techno music, and there's like the club that they go to.
Speaking of
Like,
music, I think one
mhm.
of the songs was a song that was rapped in Tagalog, by the way.
really.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
That's
that's cool.
cool. That's
I need to
great.
find that song, by the way.
Awesome. Yeah, Madripoor had a really cool look to it. Had like kind of Blade Runner type vibes, and yeah, like seedy underworld shit. Like I'm totally down with that stuff too.
Mhm.
Pretty cool in that episode. We talked about how Sebastian Stan was a lot more Bucky than Winter Soldier in this show. In that episode, he actually did become the Winter Soldier, right? He took on that
Mhm.
persona. I mean, he's kind of faking it, but it was kind of cool to see that come back for a little bit. Um, as it turned out, however, there really was no mutant stuff whatsoever. Um, I mean, some fans really stretched things. I think there were some X's that showed up in some parts of the show. It was like, that's a shout out to the X-Men, isn't it? But really, there was no mutant stuff at all. Um, yeah, a lot of speculation that there might be some mutant stuff in this show. But beyond Madripoor, which in itself is a bit of a stretch, to call it like a mutant reference, yeah, there really wasn't much mutant stuff to speak of whatsoever. But we did get Madripoor, we got Zemo, got the Dora Milaje, we got the U.S. agent also, right? So that was something I was kind of curious about. I knew that John Walker was in the show. Come to find out, right away in episode 1, he becomes the new Captain America. But I knew him more as the U.S. agent from the comics, right? So I was wondering if that was going to happen, and it did happen at the very end. Um, didn't really do much other than declare him as being the U.S. agent. What do you guys think is the future of this character? Do you think he's going to show up more in the MCU? And if so, like, what is he going to be doing?
Hmm. Like, I feel like we should see him again because Val is a character that we kind of just barely touched on in the show, and I really couldn't get a read on her at all,
Yeah,
whether she was like good or evil. She like, um, she is what was she? She's like Miss Hydra in the comics or
Madam Hydra.
Madam Hydra,
Yeah.
and so, but I'm not sure how they're gonna do it here. How they're gonna work the character here, or if they're gonna do like a Dark Avengers. But it seemed like a setup for something else.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
hopefully we do get it because I do think the resolution that we got to the character in this show to U.S. Agent, well, yeah, that kind of felt a little rushed and kind of felt a little short for such a great like episode 5 before with the shield, with the bloody shield and all that in the fight.
yeah. Man, I feel like they 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 went too far with John Walker. Like, if they kind of ended John Walker's story with him like losing his Captain America status, and that kind of being it, I think that would have been cool. But then, yeah, they brought him back in episode 6 to help fight the Flag Smashers. And then all of a sudden, like, yeah, like I was saying earlier, out of nowhere, he just kind of buddy with Bucky, kind of cracking jokes. Like, well, what is that from? Where's that coming from? And then, yeah, there's a reveal as the U.S. agent, which I guess is kind of cool, kind of a fun fan service kind of moment. But um, yeah, like if they had left it as okay, you are no longer Captain America. He's bummed out and like he's just wrecked. He's a broken man. Like I think that would have been a cool way to end his story in this show. And then yeah, maybe bring him back later and yeah, you wonder what you're getting. Like he's totally unstable and he's been given this new role as the US agent and he's a total wild card, right? Um yeah. So that I think that might lead us nicely to what is next. There hasn't been a second season announced for this show. However, they have announced a fourth Captain America movie to be in development. So, what do we think is going to be in that fourth Cap movie? Any theories,
I don't think
speculation?
U.S. Agent's going to be in there.
Okay,
back to U.S. Agent. Like,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't think his story is going to continue, and I think the reason why is because if they want everyone to buy that Falcon is now Captain America, like we're not going to call him Falcon anymore. I don't think they want someone that's similar to Captain America in that storyline to not confuse people.
Interesting. What are your thoughts, Christian?
Like just too many cooks in the kitchen kind of deal. You know what I mean?
I actually didn't think about that, but I think you might be right. That they want the singular captain, you know?
Yeah. Well, that is a good point. But now that John Walker has this new persona and, a different looking costume. I mean, you look at the Sam Wilson Captain America costume versus the US agent costume, they're pretty different, And I could see it. I could see a fourth Captain America movie with the US agent in it, in perhaps a villainous role. To be honest, I could see the continuation of a lot of this show, like the Power Broker, the continued story of Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, Val. Like we're saying, it doesn't seem like she got to do a lot in this show, and they're setting her up for something in the future. Yeah, Captain America 4 seems like a logical progression for that character. Zemo, getting some more Zemo, absolutely. So, yeah, I see that movie as being like an extension of this one, and
is it the Russo brothers that are doing Captain America 4?
It hasn't been stated. So,
yeah. By the way, I don't know if you guys heard about this, but one of the writers on Falcon Winter Soldier apparently was trying to make a big push to have Spider-Man in somewhere in the series. Like really? where he would have fit, I have no clue, but
interesting.
Spider-Man could have been in it.
Wow.
I don't know. I think there's too many characters in that show to begin with. I think throwing Spider-Man in there would have been way too much. Yeah,
that would have been too much.
Yeah, publicity stunt kind of territory, right? Okay, so yeah. So speaking of what's next, Captain America 4 is fun to speculate, but I mean, in reality, it's going to be a long time before we see that movie. But we are getting a lot more MCU stuff this year, pretty soon. In fact, next month we see the next Marvel Studios Disney Plus show, Loki, and then the very next month in July we get the Black Widow movie. So, yeah. How are we feeling about like where the MCU stands right now? So we got WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier and a whole slew of MCU content upcoming. So what's the temperature check right now? How are we feeling?
I like where they've started off. I think that post-snap world, there's a lot of opportunities for like different kinds of storytelling that they started to explore in WandaVision and the show Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so I think it's a very cool idea that I think they could definitely like pull a lot more stories out of like what the US government is going to do, what is SHIELD going to do in this world. Cuz they have shows like, let's see, like what's another show, like that Nick Fury show And then there's going to be Armor Wars, and I can imagine more shows like that that are kind of similar to Falcon and Winter Soldier, where they kind of talk about like this new weird socio-political climate that's very chaotic. And maybe that's where we'll see U.S. Agent again. Maybe it'll show up in somebody else's show, like that, like in Armor Wars or something like that. And as far as like the Avengers themselves, I can't imagine themselves coming back together as a team anytime soon. I think they're probably going to save that for a much later phase. But it seems very new. It seems like this completely new frontier that Marvel has. So I'm very optimistic going forward.
Yeah, good points. I definitely agree. It feels like we're going in a new direction here in the right way. There have been some criticisms about some of the MCU movies being kind of templated, the same thing over and over. But
McMarvel.
yeah, McMarvel, exactly, like you've been saying, Rainier. With these two shows, not perfect, had their shortcomings, but ultimately pretty satisfying, and maybe above all, new. It just feels new. We're going into uncharted territory, and I'm enjoying the ride. This Loki show seems totally different. I can't wait for it to come out next month. And I'm just going along for the ride, and it's a fun ride, definitely.
And for me, I think it's cool that like, there's still a lot more story to tell with like even with the core Avengers that we have from the MCU, and like how it's like branching off. But honestly, not to say that these stories are done, but like they have had their time. They have had their limelight. Like they've been highlighted and showcased. And I feel like a good direction to go into is let's see some Fantastic Four not branch off from Avengers, or let's see some X-Men that's not branching off from the Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a whole new chapter with a whole new set of heroes, I think would be refreshing. Like stop.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to get to a point where they're going to continue to ride the coattails of success with all the Avenger stories, that it's going to start to get weary. I think, I'd like to just see some fresh new stuff.
That's a good point. Even though WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier are these kind of fresh new takes, they definitely draw upon past material, right? Like there's a lot of reference to the Avengers movies and the happenings and the MCU to date. I agree. It'd be kind of cool to start completely fresh. Talking about Fantastic Four. Later along the line, we're going to get X-Men stuff. I wonder if they're going to do that though, because when they had the opportunity to introduce Spider-Man, arguably the greatest Marvel character, even with him, they had to tie him to Iron Man and rope him into this whole backstory of existing MCU storyline, right? They didn't start fresh with Peter Parker. They had to have him be kind of this side character in a Captain America movie and have him be like Tony Stark's sidekick sort of thing. I wonder. I do wonder.
It's absolutely clear that the MCU has continuity down to a science. Like not that it's a bad thing, but they do beat us over the head with it by, you can suddenly make a show successful by having an appearance of an Avenger in your show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, again, I feel like starting fresh with something new that's not tied from the origins of the Avengers would be something that I'd like to see.
Yeah. I think maybe it's just not in the DNA of this cinematic universe to have anything completely fresh and new. Like it has to have a continuation from before.
Obviously from a financial standpoint, these guys are making money hand over fist. Like, of course, they're not going to drop this.
Yeah. So maybe what I'm driving at is that I would prefer to see like a better handoff. Like going back to Spider-Man, like I to this day have an issue that the MCU Spider-Man is so deeply connected to the Iron Man story.
Yeah.
Like they could have kind of, had solo Spidey with Homecoming, right? I get it, Civil War, you're introducing him to this universe. He's a side character in a Captain America movie, and he's part of Iron Man's story. That's fine. But maybe with Homecoming, okay, let's start fresh. But even then, they didn't, right? He was deeply tied in with Iron Man, even with Far From Home, right? But maybe a better way to do it is what they did with Black Panther, right? Black Panther was a side character in Civil War also, but when he got his own movie, it was a totally fresh take, right? It was like a restart of the character, and it stood alone, right? It had nothing to do, I don't say nothing, but it had very little to do with past Marvel superheroes, right? So,
and for me, like I'm okay with having a superhero movie without having it have to be teased from a previous movie. Like, and I think what drives that point home is like, Into the Spider-Verse. Like that was a great Spider-Man movie, and it didn't have to grow from the Avengers universe.
Yeah. Well, maybe the sad reality is that we're just not going to see that with the MCU, because so far everything has led to the next thing, right? It's just that continuity thing, right? I like I said, I think it's in the DNA of this universe. So maybe it doesn't have to be as connected as say the Spider-Man story, but I think bottom line is there's gonna be some connective tissue here.
Yeah,
Always.
no, I see what you're saying, but I think I think you're right though. That's the formula. Again, the formula. That's how they're going to continue with it. Like we got a little bit of Black Panther in Civil War, then he had his own movie. We got a little bit of Spider-Man, then he got his own movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, hey, you know what? What might be the big test is this year we're getting the Shang-Chi movie and the Eternals movie. Now, so far, we haven't gotten anything from either of those, right? Not a post-credit scene or a little teaser, or nothing, right? So
not yet. We haven't seen Black Widow yet.
So maybe with Black Widow or like the Loki show, we'll see. But so far, nothing. That might be kind of nice if those two films are totally fresh.
I mean, those movies like kickstarting off on their own, like I'm totally fine with that. Like that's great.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool?
And I'm hoping that they're great movies. And I'm sure they will. They're Marvel, right?
Yeah, there you go. Although I guess you could argue already with Shang-Chi, the title of the movie is Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Ten Rings. And we got a taste of the Ten Rings in the very first Iron Man movie. So again, there's already a little bit of connectivity there. So like I said, everything's connected.
That's not necessarily tied by a specific character though, right? It's like the X's in Madripoor, right? And it's like there's some connection.
Yeah, it's more of a loose connection. So yeah.
Do you think they might have the Mandarin Ben Kingsley? Do you think he might show up at all? The fake Mandarin.
That's a good question.
He wasn't really the Mandarin.
Yeah.
The fake one, the quote unquote Mandarin.
I refuse to even refer to him as the Mandarin, but that might be kind of fun. I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt there'll be any reference or an appearance or anything. We'll see.
I kind of hope not.
Yeah, same.
Maybe as like a post credit. That could be the post credit scene.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah, usually there's like a serious one and a funny one. Maybe that could be the funny one.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 was the worst.
It was bad.
Although, Iron Man 3 versus Iron Man 2.
I mean, what's the coolest thing we got out of Iron Man 3 that he could he could call his armor to him piece by piece? Like that's
I did like that scene where he's just jumping from suit to suit in the battle. The villain that he was fighting was pretty lame, but I thought that was a cool set piece.
like I can't remember anything that stuck out from that movie that was like moving the story forward.
Yeah, it was pretty
Like,
bad. I would take Iron Man 2 over Iron Man 3
Oh, any day.
all day. Yeah, I mean Iron Man 2 was pretty bad also, but
Oh,
nowhere
I
near.
liked Iron Man 2.
Oh yeah,
I did.
yeah, it was okay. I thought.
I kind of go back and forth between the two. It's like, there's parts of Iron Man 3 I think I like a little better than 2, and parts of 2 I think a little better than 3. Iron Man 3 feels like it's out of continuity, you know, because you never really see Iron Patriot armor again. Like, you see him blow up all the suits, but he's got all the suits again.
I mean, you don't see any of that armor in any of the movies ever again.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, the end is supposed to be this kind of geek out moment where you see like all these different Iron Man suits battling, right? But I think it set themselves up for a bit of a trap, because I feel like after you see that, you think, well, why doesn't Tony Stark do that all the time? Why doesn't he just build a bunch of suits and then have an army of Iron Men? You know, that's, you know, but he never really did that, right? So why not? I don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of did that in Age of Ultron.
Kind of. Yeah, didn't he want
He had those
essentially an
androids.
Yeah, didn't he also want like an entire shield across the
The
planet
world.
or something?
Yeah.
Right.
Suit of armor around the planet.
Yeah,
But Cap didn't want it.
that's right. Okay, so why don't we go on to our rating? How would you rate The Falcon and the Winter Soldier on a scale of 1 to 5? How about you, Rainier? What would you give this one?
I'll give it a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. I would give it a 4 out of 5 also. Yeah, I gotta say, the very end was a bit of a disappointment. I was riding pretty high in this show. I was actually like tickling that 5 out of 5 for a while. But the finale was a bit of a dud. And in retrospect, yeah, there were definitely some shortcomings in this show. Ultimately, quite satisfying. And I got a lot of what I was looking for. So yeah, 4 out of 5.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and that 4 out of 5 comes from like I feel like the entire series there was just like a lot of tidbits of stuff. Like there was a lot of tidbits of cool stuff, but it didn't like come out to like I don't know, like I mean, obviously Falcon's story like was like the key story of his journey of finding himself to finally become Captain America. And then everything else kind of was diluted in the process. I don't maybe because it was such a short run. You know, maybe it could have been like fleshed out a little bit longer. Who knows? I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm with you. It definitely had its shortcomings. You know, as long as we're airing out some grievances, I did have some other notes on like some things I had problems with. Now, I'm kind of curious your guys' take on this. So, episode 1, we saw that like tremendous action sequence where Falcon is busting out a lot of cool new stuff, right? He's got Red Wing shooting lasers and missiles, and he's throwing bombs and stuff. So he's got like a whole arsenal, right? So cut to episode 2, and it's Falcon, Winter Soldier, John Walker, and Lamar taking on the Flag Smashers. Kind of a cool battle on top of trucks, right? Where was all this equipment that Falcon had previously, right? It seems like he just like ditched all that. He decides to like take the Flag Smashers on hand to hand, right? I'm like, where is all this other cool stuff he had before that could have really come in handy, right? So
Maybe he sold it off because he didn't get that loan and he just made money off it.
He was short on cash. He had to sell it.
Save the boat. Yep.
So I kind of had a problem with that. So the other thing was there was a cool scene where you see Sharon Carter fighting all these guys like bounty hunters or something. Pretty cool fight, action showcase for Agent 13, right? But the problem I had was, okay, she's fighting all these dudes, and like it's pretty rough. Like she's getting beat up pretty good, right? She's holding her own, but she's taking some hits, right? Meanwhile, Zemo, Bucky, and Sam are like in a container not that far away, right? They're just having a conversation with this scientist, right? She could have used some help, basically, right? So like I feel that okay, you don't want to leave Zemo alone there, but at least one of those guys, Sam or Bucky, come on, give her a hand.
There's a perfect explanation for that.
What's that?
They followed Captain America's lead and said, we're not going to help her.
Do not help Sharon Carter.
Actually, regarding Sharon Carter,
not to be trusted.
So she ran from the U.S. to go into hiding. I always kind of question. Do you remember that mask she had, that digital mask she took off?
Oh yeah, yeah.
If she's really in hiding, why doesn't she just keep that on the entire time? And she could just stay in the U.S. Yeah.
That's a good question. Maybe she's like one of these anti-masker types who's like, so uncomfortable. I hate wearing that damn mask. Maybe that's it.
Wear it all the time?
Can't wear it all the time, please.
I can't eat in a restaurant with this thing.
Oh, hey, did you guys notice this in that finale? Sam Wilson makes an interesting comment right before he swoops in for this final confrontation. He tells, I think he tells Bucky and Sharon, by the way, I got backup. Did you guys catch that? I got backup.
I think so, yeah.
Like, what exactly was he referring to? I thought it would be the introduction of the new Falcon. Joaquin Torres would become the new Falcon, and he was the backup. Now, that did not happen. By the way, that might be something that happens in the fourth Captain America movie. But in this show, that did not happen. It happens in the comics. And like I said, it might happen in a future movie, but it didn't happen here. So what exactly was he referring to? What was this backup?
Was it Red Wing?
That's what I think it ultimately was. Like Red Wing's back, because Red Wing was destroyed by Carly earlier, I guess.
I gotta see this guy. I don't remember this part.
Yeah, it wasn't a big momentous line of dialogue. But it did strike me when he said it. I'm like, oh wait, here we go, new Falcon. Wait, what's coming up here? And as it turned out, it really wasn't anything. And I think you are right, Christian. As it turned out, it was just the return of Red Wing. But yeah, another thing in that finale that just kind of fell short and left you scratching your head a little bit. Anyhow. I could probably go all day with these like little gripes and grievances. How about you, Christian? What would you rate this show?
So I think I'm actually might go a 3 out of 5. I might score it a little lower. I think that like it has a really good setup in and then the middle section is like 5 out of 5. Like you get some really great cliffhangers. You get some really cool twists and turns when they bring in new characters like the Dora Milaje, and like really great moments with with like the bloody shield.
Yeah,
and there you get some like really great performances. But like this last episode, I felt like was like a 1 out of 5. Like it's so deflating. Like a lot of our problems kind of stem from this last episode. And I think because it rushes a lot of its resolutions for these characters, it really just colors the rest of the show in a much more negative light. It feels like, man, why did we make this journey if this is kind of how it ended up in a way? And so like not every resolution I think was bad. I think Isaiah Bradley, that final moment was very powerful, and I think it was cool seeing this new Captain America, like, and his journey was great. But I think the show overall just bit off more than it could chew. It felt like there were just too many characters, there were too many plot points, and just too many great ideas that it didn't really know how to follow up on, you know? And like I really really enjoyed it while watching it, but I feel like the longer it sits, the more just that was okay. I think it was probably about as good as WandaVision. And so that sounded like a very negative 3 out of 5 for a show I actually really really enjoyed, because I think it does some, like, the highs are very high, and watching it to week was just so much fun. But that last episode is just like, ah. And so who knows, maybe after this new Captain America, and maybe after they expand upon some of these plot points that just kind of show up, such as the Power Broker and USA Agent and Val, like, I might come back to this and think of this last episode much more favorably. But for now, yeah, just 3 out of 5.
Yeah, really solid points, man. I do agree that last episode took away from the show a lot, and I kind of struggled with that. I was thinking, man, does one episode really matter that much? And it really does. Number one, it's the finale of the season, so it's the last thing you get to see of the season, so that in itself is significant. Number two, we're talking about a 6-episode season, so 1 out of 6 is a big chunk of what you're getting, right? So absolutely, the last episode is of great significance. And
So wait a second. So if you're telling me you watched episodes 1 through 5, then it'd be perfect.
No.
Like it'd be a higher rating, or
no, you have to evaluate this thing as a whole, right?
like if you totally didn't realize there was a 6th episode and you ended it on 5 thinking that was the finale, like would that have changed your opinion of the series overall?
No, because like I said, you have to evaluate as a whole. Like, dude, if they ended the season after 5 episodes, you see that fucking Wakandan suitcase and then the season ends, that would be terrible. That would be the worst thing ever, right? So no, I would not have loved the season if it was just 5 episodes. Now, well, yeah, if they had redone that 6th episode, or maybe what we're saying, had like an episode or two between 5 and 6 explaining things a little better, yeah, that might have helped.
Ooh, release episode 5.5.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys.
5.5.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have to assume that, or I'm gonna guess that the 4th Captain America movie is gonna be Sam. Like that's Captain America. Now, do you think the world is ready for Sam as Captain America? Like there's no more Steve Rogers?
That's a great question. In fact, you might have just described the movie. Like that might be the movie I want to see. Maybe not so much about Zemo and Val and US Agent and all. Is America ready for a Black Captain America? That might be the movie to see, right? Because it touches upon it with the ending of this show, but to really deep dive into that could be cool. And there's
to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
To add to that, the thing is too, is that there's this sentimental attachment to Chris Evans. Like everyone loves Chris Evans, and Chris Evans brought us through the journey of Captain America through every iteration of an Avengers film. Like, are people ready to let that go? In addition to, okay, this is a Black Captain America. Like, is that our Captain America?
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. And there is a comic storyline about that. When Sam Wilson takes on the Cap mantle, it's all about this country not being ready for him. They hate him. He is it's stated, not my Cap. Like people are saying, not my Cap. And if they delve into that in a movie, man, that could be pretty cool. I would be kind of surprised if they really deep dive into that. Um,
Yeah, I mean
yeah,
it's
we'll see.
Disney. Like, are they gonna pull the trigger on that? Who
Yeah,
knows?
like they kind of did with this show. You know, we talk about a lot of the shortcomings, but a big plus is that they were not afraid to go there, right? Definitely a pleasant surprise that they took some risks.
Do you think they were not afraid to go there because it was being delivered to us via Disney Plus and not a theatrical release?
I kind of get that sense. It's really cool or seeing on Disney Plus. Kind of get the feeling we won't get, you know, this kind of edginess with the movies. That remains to be seen. But I kind of get that feeling. Yeah, that the edginess may be, you know, in the Disney Plus realm, not so much the movies.
They did. They like he touched on it at the end, in his final speech, how he said like he could feel everyone's eyes on him, you know. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
like I feel like that idea has been started. So I think that that'd be really great if they followed up on that.
Mm-hmm.
And they talked about how like how he's perceived by the public and by the government, because the government talked about how they wanted the shield back or like at some point.
Well, I think maybe a follow-up question to that is if they don't follow up with that, is that going to be a huge like, is that going to be like if they don't go forward with that because they are bringing up those questions, you think they're just trying to dodge the topic altogether?
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that'd be worse. That'd make for a much worse movie.
I think so too. Like, there's kind of a track record with this content that is timely and you know, speaks to real world issues, right? Um, from Winter Soldier to Civil War to this show, yeah, you know, it's really cool to see real life issues brought to the Marvel universe, right? So if they kind of pull a 180 with this fourth Cap movie and they kind of shy away from the racial themes of this show, yeah, it would be a disappointment and kind of a cop out, I think. Okay, with that, we can wrap up the episode. This is Farewell from Henry, Christian, and Rainier.